You're listening to the Platform Launchers podcast. I'm John Stange, and it's great to have you with us this week, as always, because here we talk about building and growing and monetizing your online platform. We take your passions, help you turn them into a platform, and let that become your paycheck where you get to feed your family and support your household and fund your hobbies and do all the fun things that you get to do with the financial resources that are entrusted to your stewardship. And so we're grateful that we have the privilege to be part of that. And this week, our topic is on the concept of memberships. Last week, during our weekly call that we have with our members club, we were talking a little bit about memberships. And one of the things that was suggested was that we have a night dedicated to the concept of online memberships. And so that's what this week's theme happens to be. And so we're sharing that here with our podcast. We're also going to have some in-depth discussion about that with our members club once our podcast here finishes up. And I'll make mention of this. You've heard me mention it before, but if you ever want to take a free 2-week trial of our members club, you will get free access to all the video resources and training and previous live calls that have been recorded. You'll also get to join us for a couple weeks of live calls as someone taking a membership for a test drive. And so if you want to do that, just stop over at platformlaunchers.com and click the membership tab, and you could have free access to that for the next couple weeks. And if you take advantage of that, we hope that you enjoy it, whether you become a long-term member or whether you just take the free trial and use the resources there initially. That's fine as well. We're just happy to share that with you and grateful to have you with us for our podcast this week, whether you're listening on your favorite podcasting app or whether you're joining us on YouTube. And again, our topic this week is the concept of online memberships. And I'm going to try and help us answer the question, is leading an online membership right for you? So that's what I want us to be thinking about right now. Is leading an online membership right for you? Now, let me give you a little background on what led me to believe that online memberships have a real place in the modern economy. One of our greatest desires as humans, I think all of us would agree with this, one of our greatest desires is the desire to belong to something bigger than ourselves. That's a need I've identified in my life. I think about that all the time. I think it's probably something you've identified in your life as well. We desire to belong to something bigger than ourselves. I think that need gets addressed in multiple ways through things like our religious faith. I think it gets addressed through our family, through our citizenship. I think it gets addressed through the organizations that we're part of, and even the teams that we root for. By the way, this week was the Kelly Green jersey week for my favorite Philadelphia Eagles, and it was really, really fun to see them play in those retro jerseys. And I felt deeply connected, very deeply connected with my other Eagles fans, one of which is live here on the call, Daniel Miller. So grateful to have your support. But even the teams we root for give us the opportunity to feel like we're part of something bigger. And I think most people would agree that life takes on a deeper sense of meaning when we're part of a community that connects us to something bigger or greater than our sense of individuality. Now, as a content creator who throughout the course of my week, I'm producing written and recorded content. I'm also teaching for large groups and small groups each and every week. I tend to spend a lot of my time in preparation for that content that gets created or for those teaching opportunities that I'm doing in front of live groups. And so typically, and I think most of us would understand this, typically that involves finding a quiet place where I can prepare lessons and record podcasts and create videos without being interrupted. I like creating content. I need that quiet place most of the time when I'm creating the content. But as you can imagine, there's a downside to that lifestyle. And the major downside to the lifestyle that I just described is isolation. When so much of your life is being spent trying to avoid distractions, you also frequently find yourselves inadvertently needing to avoid people, because typically people are the source of those distractions, whether you want to call them that or not, right? When we're trying to get things done, usually if you're trying to do some focused thinking so that you can create some content, you actually find yourself avoiding people. And again, some of that is fine in its proper context and for a period of time. but too much of that is unhealthy for most people, and I find it unhealthy for me. Too much of that is particularly unhealthy for me. I do not do well if I am isolated for obscene periods of time. But again, so much of what I'm doing requires me to spend time alone in preparation, creating content, recording, writing, developing audio, editing audio, etc. Well, when I noticed that isolation was part of my life in an abnormal amount, and when I started thinking, this is a pattern that needs to be interrupted, I actually started looking for ways that I could experience community in ways that I wasn't experiencing community. And in fact, I was looking for a particular kind of community. I was looking for community among other content creators who understand this lifestyle. So other people who create content like I do, who understand the lifestyle of a content creator, where we end up spending a lot of time by ourselves, but yet also desiring to be around other people. Now, thankfully, there are many different options that can help address the type of need that I expressed, a need for more community among content creators. And quite a few of those options can be accessed online. So once I identified my need for additional community, and once I identified the fact that I wanted it to be among other content creators, I actually started taking advantage of several great options that allowed me to interact with people who do exactly what I do. And so I've been part of several groups. I've been part of groups that have been tailored toward meeting the needs of church leaders, because that's very much a part of my day-to-day life. And so I've been part of groups that focus on helping church leaders. I've also been part of groups that really target entrepreneurs, people that just have that entrepreneurial bug, people that like to figure out ways to build things from scratch and monetize these things. And I very much fall into that content. And so I've joined groups like that. I've joined groups for content creators, like to hang out with other authors and podcasters and people of that nature. I've also joined groups that have focused on coaching, and was part of one particular group that was really all about developing your counseling skills and your coaching skills. And that was one of the groups that have had a very profound impact on my day-to-day life. And I've learned something from each and every one of these groups. I've greatly benefited from the content, or from the leadership, or even from the friendships. Some of the friendships that I've developed in the past group of years through some of the groups that I've been part of, these are friendships that I believe are going to be lifelong friendships. And I'm so grateful that I've experienced these friendships in each of these settings through these various groups that I've had the opportunity to be part of and benefit from. Well, now fast forward to several years ago when or rewind, I guess I should say, to several years ago when I started noticing that this was something I was engaging in. And in the midst of that, I also started getting a question on repeat from people that I was connected with in all different places. And many people in my life wondered why I didn't offer an online community in my area of expertise. I was joining all these other groups that other people were hosting, but people started asking me, "Hey, listen, it seems like your thing is helping people figure out how to build, grow, and monetize message-based online platforms. Why don't you have a group or some sort of option where people could spend time together that you could facilitate, where you help people understand how that process works?" And my answer for a while, and I actually said this for a decent amount of time, my answer was I wasn't really sure that I should start a group like that, because I wasn't actually sure if I had the emotional bandwidth to lead something additional. In my other roles that I function in outside of what I do here for Platform Launchers, I'm leading groups of people. I'm helping people in a variety of ways. That obviously takes a lot out of you. It's stuff I enjoy doing. It's something I feel like I'm in fact called to do. But at the same time, I also know that, like all people, we have only so much that we sometimes feel like we can give. So I actually wondered if it might be a little too much for me, emotionally or relationally, or just as far as the energy that I had for the task. I thought, do I really want to lead something additional? And this is something that I'm mentioning because maybe you're wrestling with the same thing. But in time, after a lot of prayer, I actually came to realize that this was the right thing for me to do. And it was a way that I could use what I've learned and what I've experienced to be a benefit to others. I wanted to be of service to others who felt like they were supposed to do similar things. And so that's when Platform Launchers was born. We're just a couple of years ago, launched this in the fall of 2021. And it's been a really exciting several years of watching things develop and grow. And in the years since I started Platform Launchers, I've had the privilege to work with hundreds of online entrepreneurs and hundreds of content creators. It's been very exciting to have the privilege to do so. People from various parts of the United States and various parts of the world. It's very exciting. But I get to serve them through our community. I get to serve them through coaching. I get to serve them through courses and podcasts and blogs and videos and books and live events and several other things. And I have to say that starting and leading an online membership community has been one of the best decisions I ever made. Now, it took a while before I was willing to give myself permission to do it, but when I did it, I've been very, very grateful for it. I truly enjoy it. But in the midst of my enthusiasm, I also want to give you a warning. I'm obviously a big proponent of membership communities, but I want to warn you, if you're thinking about it, leading a membership community isn't for everyone. You have to be truly committed to it, and you have to be at a spot where you're willing for this to become part of your weekly routine, and I would even say part of your lifestyle. If you're going to lead a membership community, it becomes not just part of your weekly routine, although that's part of it. It really does become part of your lifestyle. You think about it a lot. You engage with the people in your community frequently. It becomes part of your lifestyle. So you need to be completely dedicated to leading this well. You need to be completely dedicated to the success of your members for your membership community to actually have the most effect that it can have. I'm convinced that anything less than that will not lead your community to flourishing. So you have to be 100% all in. And with that said, with that caution out of the way, I just want to make sure I said that. I want to make sure I was clear about that. I just want to pose the question for us to be thinking about. Have you ever thought personally about you leading a membership community? Do you think something like that would be right for you to do? Have you given some thought to it? I want to say this. If you're interested in doing something like that, and if you've been wrestling with some of those questions, I want to walk you through several things here. In fact, I have a list of 7 important things to understand if you're thinking about leading a membership community. Some things to think about. Now, some of these concepts I felt like I understood before I launched Platform Launchers. Before I created Platform Launchers and built this membership community, some of these things I had very much in mind. I understood them. I was clear about them because I had been a member of other membership communities, and I even had and hosted a membership community some years before I started Platform Launchers. But it was very different from what I do today. And the reason it's different is because I learned some lessons from doing that. And so some of these lessons I did know ahead of time. But I have to say, some of these lessons that I'm going to share here in this list of 7 are things that I learned through the experiences that came with trial and error. Things that I learned from feedback, things that I learned from attempting things and seeing what seems to be working, what seems to be not working, what needs to be tweaked a little bit for it to work. So let me walk you through 7 things that I think are useful to consider if you've been thinking about building a membership community. So first of all, and I put this first on my list, maybe this would not be first on your list, but this makes sense to me that this would be first on a list if you're thinking about this. And the first thing is like a question. I'm just going to ask this as a question. My question is this: does your message or your primary subject lend itself to a community approach? And I'm saying this at the beginning because I really want you to wrestle with this. I've seen some people start membership communities based on concepts that didn't really work well in a community approach. Some subjects fit very well with a membership model. Others possibly or probably don't. So in my case, the subject of online platform development, I thought that lends itself toward a community approach because I was able to envision people building platforms and bouncing ideas off of each other and benefiting from each other's trial and error and then growing together. Several of our community members can testify to the fact that they lead membership communities. I'm thinking of people in our community like Phil or like B or like Phyllis. These are people in our community already who are leading memberships and several others that are going to be adding memberships to what they're already doing. We have people in our community who are leading membership communities of their own on subjects like writing books or on learning better approaches to sales or overcoming mindset and background issues. These are the type of things that really help people grow in those areas, but they're also beneficial to do in a community context or learn in a community context. And again, there are many subjects that can work with this model, but if your primary message isn't a good fit for a community approach, I wouldn't pursue it. But if it is a good fit for a community approach, then okay, you've overcome the first hurdle. But that's the first thing I think we need to wrestle with. Here's number 2 on my list. If you're going to start a membership community, make sure you're clear about offering your members what's called a success path. Now, Stu McLaren uses that term all the time. I don't know if you're familiar with Stu McLaren, but he talks a lot about online memberships, and he has a lot of experience with it. And he's a name that I think is one of the primary names known for memberships and some of the things that go along with it. And I completely agree with that idea of a success path being part of your membership. A good example of this, probably one of the most prominent examples, is Dave Ramsey, where he has what he calls his financial baby steps. And he walks people through 7 steps that he encourages them to go through when they're trying to improve their personal finances. In my case here with platform launchers, I talk about the 5 Ds of online platform development. When I sat down to try and figure out what a success path would really look like for someone who is building an online platform, I boiled it down to 5 primary concepts. And then I thought about the fact that it kind of dawned on me that they all really start with the letter D or could start with the letter D. And I thought, yeah, let me just call that my 5 Ds of online platform development. So the 5 Ds are these. This is what I'm trying to walk our members through and model through my personal example and model in the courses that I teach. But I talk about D number 1, discover your message. And then number 2, deliver your content. And then number 3, develop your tribe. Then number 4 is deploy your team. And number 5, derive your income. So discover your message, deliver your content, develop your tribe, deploy your team, derive your income. That's the order that makes the most sense to me, in my opinion, when you're building an online platform. So I present it to our members as our success path, the 5 Ds of online platform development. If you're going to start a membership community, I would encourage you to make sure that there is a clear path that you're trying to lead your members along. It will help you to teach better, but it will also help them to figure out where they are in the process of building what they're building. These serve as benchmarks so people can measure how things are growing and understand how to do things in the right order. All right, number 3 in my list tonight related to whether or not you should start a membership community. Number 3, if you do this, I'd encourage you to make sure you choose a software solution that makes managing an online membership community easy, because you don't want to spend all your time figuring out tech things. You want to spend your time either creating content or serving your members with that content. You don't want to get bogged down in financial management. You don't want to get bogged down in tech. You don't want to get bogged down in how to actually deliver the content that you've put together. Or as one of our members mentioned just a little bit earlier, she said one of the membership solutions that she utilized, or one of the software solutions, actually lost some of her content, which I imagine is immensely frustrating. So you want whatever software solution you use to manage this membership to be easy for you. So managing it is not something you have to spend an excessive amount of time on, but you also want it to be easy for your members. So it should be easy to build and modify from the administrative end, but it should also be very easy for your members to consume content and connect with the community. You want it to be able to accomplish both, consume content and connect with the community. Now, anyone that's been around me for any length of time knows that my favorite solution is Kajabi. It's what I strongly prefer to handle this. I have a referral link if anyone wants to use it, and it'll let you try it for a month for free. So let me know if you want to use that. If you're listening to this via the podcast, I'll put it in the description. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll make sure it's in the description as well. But I love it. It's not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than its individual parts. The individual parts that make it up, if you tried to do all those things separately, would cost a lot more than what Kajabi costs. But it's fantastic. And many, many entrepreneurs that I know that are building membership communities use it as the backbone of their membership community because it makes the user experience for your members very intuitive and very easy. And for you as the content creator and the person managing it, it does much of the nitty-gritty tech work for you. There's not a whole lot you have to do. All right, number 4 on my list. You want to make sure you keep your membership community streamlined and uncluttered. Now, this may seem like, okay, no big deal, right? But let me explain why I'm sharing this. There's a very, very specific reason why I'm sharing this as one of these bullet points that I wanted to share in our training this week. It should be easy to figure out what a member should do when they go to your membership. When they go to your website, when they log in, it should be very easy for them to figure out how to use what you've put together. Your site should be very easy to navigate, very easy to get around, very easy to find what people need. And when you're putting your membership together and how it operates, I actually recommend having one primary meeting per week, a vault of previously recorded content, and an easy way for members to connect with one another. Those 3 things: one primary meeting, a vault of previously recorded content, and an easy way for members to connect with one another. Many online memberships, some that I've been part of in the past, are filled with so much great content and multiple meetings. And what you end up discovering is you don't use half of it because it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on. I'm in one membership community even now that I'm in it because I respect the people that are in it and the person who founded it. But I have to confess that there's just so much content that sometimes I look at it, I'm like, I don't even know where to find half this stuff. It's not as obvious or easy to figure out. I'll stay with it, but I'll have to tell you, most people who quit memberships, they actually quit membership communities because of one primary reason. They usually say the major contributor to their decision to quit was that the membership was too complicated to figure out or had too much going on to keep up with. And so that's why I encourage have a one weekly meeting, have a vault of previously recorded content, and have a way for members to easily connect with each other. If you have those 3 pieces, you're placing your membership on a level that you might think that that's not enough. But if you overcomplicate your membership, you're making it hard for people to use the content, and they're going to stop using the content, and they may decide that the membership's not for them after all, because it just feels like wasted money and wasted time. Now, those were my longer suggestions. I have 3 more suggestions, numbers 5, 6, and 7. These are very brief, but I still want to include them. So here's a few additional suggestions. Number 5 on my list is this: be sure to set and maintain a healthy, helpful, and positive culture, because the tone you set will carry through the entire group. So make sure you understand that the leader is the one who sets the tone for that. And if you're going to venture into doing something like this, make sure the culture that you set is healthy and helpful and positive. And then if anything tries to interrupt that culture, you have to interrupt that interruption, meaning you got to set it and you got to maintain it. Don't let the culture of the membership be damaged. Make sure it remains healthy. Make sure it remains helpful. Make sure it remains positive. Number 6, over deliver. Surprise your members with the value you're offering. You want to make it so that your membership seems like the biggest bargain in online memberships because of the value it provides and the people that it joins together. It's just so valuable because you have set your mind to over deliver. So whatever you choose to price your membership at, that's one thing, but just make sure that whatever you deliver is worth way more than what you dare to charge. And number 7, this is the last one on this list for now. And there's, again, so much more I could say about this, and I will, and I'll tell you when very soon. But number 7 is this: prepare to lead. If you're going to start an online membership, you understand you have to lead people. And if you aren't actually prepared to lead real people, don't attempt to create an online community. Good communities actually require good leadership. So make sure you're emotionally and relationally prepared to offer it. You have to lead. That's a big part of starting a membership community. It's not just a set and forget type of thing. You have to be prepared to lead people. If you remember, one of the things that I was really wrestling with before I started Platform Launchers, I thought, do I have the emotional energy to lead in another sphere of life? And I had to wrestle through that question. And when I settled on the fact that, yeah, I do have the emotional energy to lead in another sphere of life, then I was ready to start the membership. But if you're not ready to lead, I would recommend pausing the idea of starting something until you feel like you have the energy to do something like that. Now, again, there's a lot more I can say about this subject, but this is a good place to start. And I'm going to give you a preview of something that's coming. If you've been to the university page of the Platform Launchers website, you've probably already noticed this. But in the coming months, what I want you to do is this: keep your eyes open to a new course that I'm going to be offering that will help you build and launch an online membership community. I'm going to get into the logistics as well as some of these foundational principles. If you want to be notified about when that course is available, all you need to do is just send me an email. My email is john@platformlaunchers.com. Just send me an email. I'll create a list that just notifies people when that course is ready, and I'll make sure that you're notified that it's ready. But just send me an email to john@platformlaunchers.com if you want to be on that list. And like I said, I'll message you when the course launches. Real quick, before we finish up, I'll let you know about another resource or a group of resources that we also have at the university page at platformlaunchers.com. You could find the Launch Plan course there that will teach you the basics of launching an online platform. You could also find our $250 a day course that'll teach you in-depth detail of how to actually monetize an online platform and turn that into something that averages at least $250 a day in income. Some of our members now have started to exceed that, which is very exciting. But that's a course that we have up there as well. And you can also see some courses from some of my friends that I included on there. And you can find that all at platformlaunchers.com/university. But that's it for us this week. Thank you again for listening to this week's podcast or joining us on YouTube. We're always grateful to be able to spend this time together with you. And we look forward to catching up with you again right here next time. In the meantime, make it a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care.